Source Channel 10. By rewarding the underdog, Sophie Monk has created a monster on The Bachelorette, with one guy turning into a massive clinger and building a relationship inside his head after only one date. It's always the quiet ones with slightly pink faces, you know what I mean? During Thursday night's episode, we also watch on as the battle for Sophie's heart ramps up, with two boys engaging in a petty stoosh over a simple Ugg boot. For years, the humble Ugg has caused a lot of fiery debates. But those arguments are usually over whether a hungover college girl wearing them with pajamas should be allowed into nice brunch spots. Rarely have two grown men become so provoked by an Ugg boot that they almost get locked in a vicious slapping fight, with one of them calling the other a piece of shit. First up though, the boys are reeling from a messy first night. We find them sitting around the mansion and I can just tell the place already smells. Blake is pissed Sam got the double delight rose and he hasn't stopped seething about it. But he needs to get his priorities in order. He shouldn't be annoyed at Sam. He should be annoyed at the wardrobe girl who's tricked him into wearing an old lady top from Miller''s. If you recall, Jordan developed limp midway through the cocktail party in Wednesday night's premiere episode and we didn't receive an explanation. Now he's appeared this morning with a moon boot on his right foot and one crutch under his arm. I had a bit of an accident on the basketball court, he says, and that excuse makes no sense at all because we've basically been here the entire time. I've lodged an request with Network 10 and Warner Brothers and I'm told an official statement will be sent through to me ASAP. Stand by. Osher arrives, delivering perhaps the most important piece of mail Australians will receive all year. Jared scores the very first single date of the series and I honestly would not have picked this. You might not know much about Jared. In last night's recap, I originally wrote a few parts about him but then immediately decided to cut them on account of him being unimpressive. He's just a nice, no trouble sort of guy. And that kind of commendable behavior doesn't get you included in these recaps. You've got to work for it. Say something mean about someone's haircut and then we'll talk. But Sophie has selected him for this primo date so I'm forced to include him tonight. All you really need to know about Jared is his family own a winery and he's constantly flushed with a shade of pink. For the date, Sophie's organized for them to walk across a high wire. Only, she's super scared of heights and so is Jared. I assure them some of my best first dates have involved a harness and they decide to go ahead. Sophie knows exactly what she's doing. She's not scared of heights and this is all a trick to see if Jared will protect her. They begin the wire walk and she pretends to get scared and he is determined to come to her rescue as the protective and sympathetic gentleman. He passes the test and we climb back down to the grass and pick at a cheese wheel. We were only in the air for a split second, but within that time, Jared has developed deep, possessive feelings for Sophie. Jared is loving this feeling of being the man and from now on he only talks to Sophie like she's a vulnerable and wounded child. Yes, he's lovely and nice and well-intentioned but he's also a bit of a nerd and just a bit too nice. I'm more attracted to mean guys, the kind of guy who'd laugh at me as I hung in terror on a faulty high wire before eating the entire cheese wheel himself at our picnic. But Sophie doesn't have my issues and rewards Jared with a rose, and the first kiss of the series. It's monumental. Source Channel 10. Back at the mansion, the boys have been informed of an impending group date and, for some reason, they've all decided to experiment with statement accessories. As they sit around drinking coffee, we catch a glimpse of Luke, who appears to have robbed a general pants sales assistant of their wide-brimmed felt hat. And Apollo, who has a chest so big I could use it as a bed, has decided to wrap a long, thin scarf around his bulging neck. I can't decide if this scarf is unusually tiny or if it's a normal size scarf, but Apollo's gigantic torso is just making it look out of proportion. Either way, it's a turn off and Apollo needs to be wearing less clothes and not draping himself in extra scraps of fabric. The fun's broken up when Jared returns from his date and all the boys get defensive. Jared has decided he loves Sophie and the game is off and all the boys should go home now thanks. It doesn't sit well. Nup. Jared's definitely coming on too strong. Sam, a man who performed a striptease for Sophie and then ran around the backyard in his underwear before rubbing his body on her, says angrily. Sam's just annoying and he keeps talking with an Arj Barker voice and someone needs